Have you ever felt that you did everything right? You cared, respected, and were always sincere, yet in the end, you were hurt, left behind, or worse, labeled as too nice? Have you ever wondered why some men don't have to try very hard, yet women are drawn to them, while you, despite giving your all, are seen only as a good friend? The answer doesn't lie in appearance, status, or sweet words. It lies in psychology, in the instincts deep within women that most men have never truly understood. Stoic philosophy views the world as a mirror. It doesn't teach you to change others. It teaches you to understand their nature, so you aren't swept up in the spiral of emotions. And this has never been more true than when it comes to women. Between reason and emotion, women act first on feeling, then use reason to justify their actions afterward. This is not their fault. It is the natural structure of their psychology. When you fail to understand this, you will always be playing a game whose rules you don't know. And when you don't know the rules, you will always lose. Women are not as fragile as you might think. They are strong, nuanced, and possess an emotional mechanism so complex that even they sometimes don't fully understand themselves. They say they want security, yet they are drawn to uncertainty. They say they want gentleness, yet they dream of a man who keeps them on their toes. They say they want stability, yet they live for intense emotions. It may sound contradictory, but this is the natural instinct of attraction. Humans do not crave what they can easily hold. They crave what makes them feel. And women, more than anyone, are creatures who live through these emotions. In this video, we are not talking about flirting tricks or emotional games. We are talking about the psychology of attraction, how a man can step out of his comfort zone to make a woman see him differently. Not through manipulation, but through self-mastery and energy that commands respect, draws fascination, and becomes unforgettable. You will learn when to advance, when to pause, and when to remain silent. Because sometimes the quiet strength of a confident man can stir a woman's heart far more than 1,000 promises ever could. The first strategy that Stoic philosophy highlights is, don't be the shoulder she cries on. People often say friendship between a man and a woman is beautiful. But if you are stuck in that fragile boundary, you understand that sometimes what is called friendship is far from beautiful. It's a place where you give everything but never receive what you truly desire in return. You lack nothing. You are kind, attentive, a good listener, always present when she needs you. You think that sincerity will make her recognize your value, that one day she will turn around and see you still there, steadfast, reliable, and then she will love you. But in reality, that doesn't happen. She still comes to you when she's sad and leaves when she's happy. She still sends you long messages when disappointed with someone, but when she is joyful, the first person she shares it with is never you. You've become her emotional refuge, a safe harbor, but not the destination of her passion. And that's exactly what kills attraction. Because a woman can trust the man who makes her feel safe, but she only desires the one who makes her feel alive. When she can predict every reaction of yours, every response, every comforting word, all curiosity disappears. And when curiosity fades, so does attraction. You become the nice guy in the truest sense of the word, sweet, kind, reliable, and completely harmless. Ironically, the very thing you're most proud of your kindness is often the reason she doesn't feel a spark. Because kindness doesn't always equal strength. When you give too much without asking for anything in return, people don't feel grateful, they just see you as a given. She doesn't see you as a choice, but as a habit. And you, every time she needs something, show up automatically, like a reflex. She's sad, you're there. She cries, you listen. She talks about another man, you comfort her. But every time you do, you're not just comforting her, you're reinforcing her belief that you'll always be there. No matter who she loves, no matter how many times she gets hurt, you'll never leave. And a woman will never desire what she's certain she can't lose. Attraction is born from limits, from the feeling of I could lose him. When you erase that feeling, you erase desire itself. She may call you special, but she will never give you her heart. What few men realize is this: you don't need to become cold to change the dynamic. You just need to regain balance. If you were always available before, Now let her wait. If you used to listen to every story she shared, now be selective. If you used to devote all your time, start sharing it with yourself. When you invest your energy in growth, in enjoying your own life, you send a very powerful signal that you don't need her to feel complete. This is the calm of a Stoic, acting from a position of initiative, not reaction, not clinging out of fear of loss, not sacrificing boundaries for the sake of being loved. When you can do this, your energy changes and you become composed, confident, and elusive. And she feels it even if you say nothing. The second strategy is to create distance so she remembers you. In any relationship, when someone is always there, always available, always predictable, they gradually become invisible. Constant presence diminishes perceived value. And in the friend zone, this is even clearer. She knows you'll message first. She knows you'll reply immediately. She knows that no matter how busy you are, you'll show up when she needs you. Gradually, you are no longer a source of excitement. You become just another familiar part of the scenery, like a chair in the room or the morning coffee cup. No one desires what they believe they will always have. People only truly appreciate something when faced with the possibility of losing it. Attraction, when divorced from the sense of risk of loss, ceases to be attraction. A man stuck in the friend zone often forgets this rule. He gives everything without leaving any mystery. He appears in every corner of her life until she no longer recognizes the value of his presence. Anything that comes too easily loses its appeal. And what is necessary to restore balance is distance. Not artificial distance, not mind games, but a natural distance created when you start living your own life instead of revolving around hers. Creating distance doesn't mean disappearing or becoming cold. It simply means stopping the habit of making her the center of every decision. Instead of texting every morning, occupy yourself with work or a new routine. Instead of always being ready to cancel plans to see her, stick to your own schedule. When you stop reacting instantly to every signal from her, your energy changes. You are no longer the reactive one. You become intentional with your own world. And women, no matter how strong, can feel this. They notice when a man starts taking control of his own life. She will start observing you more closely even if she never says a word. Every time she sees you post a picture somewhere, take part in an activity, or talk to someone else, she will feel a slight unease. That feeling doesn't come from jealousy, but from competitive instinct and the fear of being replaced. When she was once the center of attention, and that position is no longer guaranteed, a reactive mindset emerges. In silence, she begins thinking about you more. She will revisit old messages, recall moments that once seemed insignificant, and gradually realize that the distance is making everything feel different. From here, attraction begins to take shape. It is no longer your dependence on her emotions, but her curiosity about you. Distance forces people to imagine, and imagination is always stronger than reality. In that imagination, she begins to attribute to you qualities she hadn't noticed before. Confidence, strength, perseverance. These traits aren't new. They've always been there. But now she is compelled to observe you from afar rather than having you within reach. And when that happens, you don't need to do anything else. Don't try to pull her back, and don't try to prove that you're busy or happy. Just live as you are living, fully, independently, and calmly. A man who knows how to maintain distance is not cold. He understands the value of scarcity. He is not afraid of being forgotten because he knows that what is truly valuable cannot be ignored. When you create distance at the right moment, she will not only remember you, she will begin to realize that she has lost something no one else could ever replace. The third strategy is to stop seeking validation. There is a subtle truth that most men fail to realize. The more you strive to be acknowledged, the more you lose your own value. When a woman knows that you are making an effort to gain her attention, every action, every word, every gesture of care loses its weight. In matters of the heart, value doesn't come from trying to prove yourself. It comes from the natural energy of your presence. A man who constantly seeks to prove he is worthy makes her feel she is in a superior position. And once that balance is skewed, genuine feelings cannot develop equally. A man stuck in the friend zone often falls into this trap without realizing it. He wants to be the perfect kind of nice guy. the understanding, supportive, always listening type. He compliments her constantly, laughs at every joke, and always tries to make her happy. He fails to see that his constant need for approval makes him appear smaller in her eyes. Women can sense the energy of someone seeking consent, and their natural reaction is to withhold respect, because validation once requested loses its value. What creates true attraction is emotional independence. When you stop seeking validation, you no longer act to please her, but to stay true to yourself. You dare to have your own opinions, to disagree, to say no when necessary. This difference isn't about showing toughness, but about asserting that you have your own world, your own mindset, and clear boundaries. A man like this makes a woman feel safe not because he is predictable, but because he is steadfast. He is not swayed by the eyes or emotions of others. And it is precisely this steadfastness that forms the core of attraction. From the moment you stop seeking validation, you begin to make her put in effort. When you no longer try to prove that you're worthy of love, she will start wondering why you've stopped trying. When you stop giving compliments, she will question whether you still find her attractive. When you no longer agree with everything she says, she will begin paying more attention to your reactions. Little by little, the emotional balance reverses. It's no longer you striving to get her attention, it's her trying to regain yours. When you stop seeking validation, you don't just change the way she sees you, you change the way you see yourself. You realize that you don't need to be loved to have value. You just need to live true to your own strength, calm, bound, purposeful. And from that moment, you are no longer the one waiting to be chosen. You become the one naturally chosen because your confident, steadfast energy speaks for itself. The next strategy is knowing when to be silent. There are moments when silence is no longer the absence of words, but a message stronger than anything you could say. When a man stops trying to explain, stops trying to prove himself, and simply stands firm in his calm presence, that energy commands attention. Timely silence is not avoidance. It's a way to show the world that you don't need to speak to carry weight. Your presence, no longer diluted by unnecessary explanations, becomes more concentrated. Women often remember the man who makes them think, not the one who keeps talking endlessly. When you remain silent, her mind begins to work, guessing, reflecting, recalling. Each thought becomes a thread pulling her back to you. Silence creates space, and space is always where imagination fills in with emotion. While it may seem that you are distant, in reality, you are embedding yourself more deeply in her mind. There is a type of silence that confuses others when you withdraw your energy, yet keep a smile. You don't show attitude, you don't avoid, but you also don't chase. She can still see you, still feel your warmth, but can no longer reach you as easily as before. The change isn't loud, yet it forces the other person to reconsider their place in your life. And in relationships that have gone off balance, that question is the starting point of awakening. No one can constantly crave what they are certain to have. When you are always present, you turn emotions into the expected. But when you step back even just one step, her world shifts. Habits are no longer met. Familiarity disappears and her mind begins to resist that space. She will search for reasons, try to understand, and want to pull you back. Meanwhile, you simply stand firm, because your silence has begun to do what words cannot. Make her recognize your value. Timely silence is the hardest lesson because it requires enduring emptiness. You must accept that there may be no feedback, no thanks, no signals returning. Yet within that space, you find true freedom. You are no longer swept up by the emotions of others. You become the one who chooses to face your own emotions. And when you are strong enough to stand in silence without feeling deprived, others begin to feel your absence. This is the paradox of attraction. The calmer you are, the harder it is to forget you. The sixth strategy is being willing to walk away. A clear sign that a man is losing himself is when he stays in a relationship he knows he is no longer valued in. He tells himself that if he is patient a little longer, if he tries a little harder, everything will change. But time alone never changes anything, only action can. And sometimes the only action that can save you is to leave. Not because you no longer love, but because you understand that love cannot survive when only one person is trying to hold on. The willingness to walk away is not a sign of coldness. It is a testament to self-respect. A man who knows when to leave does not do so to prove a point, but because he understands that staying amidst indifference, neglect, or exploitation is a way to destroy his own value. He chooses to step away not loudly, not angrily, but to protect the one thing left, his peace. For there is nothing more painful than making yourself a backup in someone else's life. In the friend zone, a man's greatest fear is not losing her, but losing the opportunity. They cling to the fragile hope that maybe one day she'll realize. But that hope is really just a chain. When you keep waiting for someone who will never return, you trade your time, energy, and confidence for an illusion. A wise man does not let himself get trapped in illusions. He faces reality head-on, and when he sees that all he receives is silence, he knows it's time to walk away. Walking away is not defeat. Walking away is choosing yourself. When you step back from a relationship going nowhere, you reclaim the control you had unconsciously given away. She may not understand immediately. She may think you are angry or playing the silent game, but over time she will realize one thing: you are not leaving to punish. You are leaving because you respect yourself. And when a man dares to respect himself, he becomes rare, so rare that others cannot help but take notice. The willingness to walk away carries a unique power. It frees you from fear. When you no longer fear loss, you become truly free. And freedom is what makes you more attractive than ever. Women can feel that difference in your energy. Before, whenever she messaged, you would reply immediately. Now you no longer need to respond right away. Before, you worried about what she thought. Now you only care whether you are living true to yourself. Every gesture, every glance, every moment of silence conveys one thing: you have stepped out of dependency. Upgrading yourself is also a crucial strategy. Every real change begins with a moment of awakening, not when you read a book or hear advice, but when you reach your own limits and realize no one is coming to save you. That awakening comes quietly, often after you've given too much, after you've grown tired of waiting. And then in silence, you understand. If you want to be seen differently, you must become different, not pretending to be strong, but truly strong from the inside out. The first upgrade doesn't come from the gym, but from your mindset. A man cannot change his life if he still operates with the mindset of waiting to be chosen. When you continue to put others at the center, you live in their orbit. But when you start prioritizing yourself, everything changes. You stop seeking validation and start seeking progress. You no longer ask, "Does she like me?" but instead, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" That mindset is what separates the passive from the empowered. The body is also a reflection of the mind. A disciplined man in his training sends a strong message that he controls himself. Exercise is not only for appearance, it's a daily reminder: I am not easily defeated. Sweat in the gym, early morning fatigue, they build not just muscle, but willpower. And when willpower is forged, you begin to radiate a new energy, an attraction that needs no display, no effort, yet is felt by everyone. Presence cannot be borrowed. You can buy expensive clothes, but you cannot buy presence. The presence of a man who has been hurt yet stands firm carries the calm of someone who understands life. When you walk slower, speak less, look directly, people sense that you are no longer seeking anything from them. And when you are not seeking, they start seeking you. Upgrading yourself is not about becoming a cooler version, but about becoming someone no longer controlled by the need for approval. A man's true attractiveness does not come from what he has, but from the feeling he generates in others. When she sees you, stronger, more confident, busier, living with purpose, she notices what she never did before. You no longer need her to be happy, and that is what makes her feel a loss. Not because she loves you, but because she once assumed you would always be there. Now you have become someone she has to re-understand, to catch up with. The balance of emotional power shifts not through games, but through genuine growth. Finally, upgrading yourself is not about revenge or making her regret it, but about reclaiming your true self, a man who knows his worth, knows when to give, and knows when to hold back. Once you become this man, you no longer need to escape the friend zone because you will never fall into it again. You no longer fear rejection because you no longer seek approval. You no longer need anyone to see you because you already see yourself. And when a man reaches this point, every relationship in his life begins from equality, where there are no pursuers, only two mature individuals choosing to stay out of respect, not fear. There is one thing men often realize too late. Throughout the pursuit of someone, they have lost the most valuable thing, their own self-respect. They learn to say what others want to hear, do what others want to see, and forget that the essence of attraction is not in pleasing, but in standing firm without needing approval. When you need consent to feel worthy, you have given others the power to define you. And nothing weakens a man faster than letting someone else decide his value. True value needs no noise. It is not in how you talk about yourself, but in how you live. A man can remain silent for hours, yet his eyes speak more than 1,000 words. Behind those eyes are experience, pain, losses that have turned him into steel. People sense your strength not through what you say, but through your calm amidst the storm. And that is the core of Stoic philosophy. Power does not lie in defeating others, but in no longer needing to fight to prove anything. When you truly understand your own worth, you see every relationship change. You no longer chase anyone, yet the right people come to you naturally. You don't need to convince anyone to stay, because those who are meant to stay don't need convincing. You no longer let others' emotions control your mood, because you have learned to master your inner self. This is not coldness, but the calm of someone who has passed through chaos and chosen peace. If this video touches something within you, take a moment to reflect. Throughout this journey, where are you? Are you waiting for someone to acknowledge your value, or have you begun living by it each day? Share your thoughts in the comments, not for praise, but to remind yourself that the journey of a man never ends. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss lessons on Stoic masculinity, where we don't just learn to be attractive, but learn to become a man who no longer needs to be attractive.